Smiley, singer-songwriter, and this is my podcast number 10. It's about World Wildlife Day, which is this coming March 3rd. I love animals, all animals, and from what I found out after researching this World Wildlife Day, this subject is way more interesting than I ever imagined. But first, I'm going to play one of my songs. It's called Pass a Smile. It's a sing-along song, so sing along at the chorus if you want after I've played it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Something's wrong. There's too much violence everywhere. What can I do to help? How can I show care? Then suddenly, from in my heart, a voice says to me, if you really want to help, a simple smile could be your key. I think, hey, you might have hit on something there. A smile can change my mood. Smile shows I'm aware. A smile connects us face to face. Now I can clearly see simple smiles can really help to nourish peace and harmony. So there's a smile to a neighbor, there's a smile to a friend, there's a smile to a stranger, so the cycle never ends. They feel good to give, they feel good to give, so do it. There's a smile. I shout yes. Wow, this idea is really great. When joined with a smile, it's very hard to hate. I hope this idea catches on. I'm sure you will agree. Heartfelt smiles are what we need to help spread peace and harmony. So there's a smile to a neighbor, there's a smile to a friend, there's a smile to a stranger, so the cycle never ends. They feel good to give, they feel good to give, so do it. There's a smile. As they pass from face to face, they'll spread throughout the human race. We each have the power to make this world a better place, better place. So pass a smile to a neighbor, pass a smile to a friend, smile to a stranger, so the cycle never ends. They feel good to give, they feel good to give, so do it. Do what? There's a smile, so do it. Do what? There's a smile, do it. There's a smile. I hope you liked it. If everyone would pass a smile to the people they meet throughout the day, this would be a totally different world. I challenge you to try it and see what you think. Okay, before we start talking about World Wildlife Day, let me explain the term species. Species are a group of organisms that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. There are many different species of mammals, birds, plants, reptiles, amphibians, fish, reef corals, insects, microbes, etc. Now, what is World Wildlife Day? The UN World Wildlife Day has now become the global annual event dedicated to wildlife. People everywhere rely on wildlife and biodiversity-based resources to meet our needs, from food to fuel, medicines, housing, and clothing. People have been working together to make sure our ecosystems are able to thrive and or different species are able to exist for future generations, but it's not enough. The problem is, if animals like the tigers, elephants, wolves, even manatees or bees go extinct, we as people will all be in trouble. Or when our waters are overfished, all this affects the people. When one species is lost, it can trigger the loss of others. Human activities like habitat destruction, we keep building, pollution, and overexploitation have led to a major decline in the animals, fish, plants, and insects, etc. around us. It's estimated that we have already lost 99.9% of all species that ever lived on Earth. Should we let the rest of the endangered species go extinct? Some people say, let them go. However, scientists that have studied the animals say, if we don't at least try to save them, humans will suffer. But what does this have to do with America, you say? A lot of these endangered species live in other countries. Through this podcast today, you will see that some of these species live in America too. When one part of the world loses species, the whole world suffers. And that's why it's called World Wildlife Day. Okay, what comes before extinction? First up, least concern. These are the species that are fine with everything, just like it is. Some species have been around forever, and they will stay around as long as they possibly can. Many can adapt to new situations. Probably the cockroach will be here forever. Special concern is a species that has characteristics that make it particularly sensitive to human activities or natural events. Then there's threatened, a species that is likely to become endangered if limiting factors are not reversed. Endangered, a species facing imminent extinction. And critically endangered, a species considered to be facing an extremely high risk of extinction. So now I'm going to go outside and see if I can find some endangered species. Hi, here we are in front of the Dreer Park Zoo in West Palm Beach, Florida. Zoos play a vital role in wildlife conservation by breeding endangered species, preserving genetic diversity, and reintroducing animals into the wild. So let's go inside and see if we can find some endangered species. Tigers. Here we are at the brand new tiger exhibit that just opened yesterday. Are tigers endangered in 2024? Yes, tigers are still endangered. All 6 of the tiger subspecies are listed as endangered. They are found in 10 countries, mainly Asia. Why are tigers endangered? Poaching. The demand for tiger body parts and for traditional medicine and folk tonics drives poaching. Habitat loss. Tigers' habitats are being destroyed by agriculture, mining, hydropower development, and road destruction. Climate change. Climate change is a threat to tigers as it is to other wildlife. What can be done to help tigers? Reducing demand for tiger products, protecting and restoring tiger habitats, creating long-term commitments to save tigers, and raising awareness about the threats to tigers. This is currently being done by conservation groups. How many tigers are left in the wild? Around 3,140 mature tigers and around 5,660 including cubs. How many tigers are in the zoos and privately owned? Around 9,000, mostly in Asia, some that are used for body parts and medicines, and around 5,000 in the U.S. So yes, there are more tigers in captivity than there are in the wild. What would happen if tigers go extinct? As a keystone species, without them, entire ecosystems could collapse. Without them, countless other species could vanish forever. Without them, we could lose some of the forests that give us the very air we breathe and the watersheds that bring us clean water to drink. The Florida panther is endangered too, and there are only approximately 120 to 230 left of those. All of the big cats are in trouble. This is a big brown bear headed towards us. Many bear species are threatened with extinction, including giant pandas, polar bears, and grizzly bears.
However, the American black bear and brown bear are not considered threatened. The endangered bear species are giant panda. Let me move the camera a little bit. Okay, the endangered bear species are giant panda. In 2021, China announced that they had been upgraded from endangered to threatened, a big success story thanks to conservation efforts. Sun bears. And vulnerable. Keep in mind, vulnerable means a species that is likely to become endangered if limiting factors are not reversed. Asiatic black bear, vulnerable. Sloth bear, vulnerable. Andean bear, vulnerable. Polar bear, though we have heard they are starving to death, they are still listed as vulnerable. And let me move the camera a little bit more. Grizzly bears. In the lower 48 states, they are protected as vulnerable by the Endangered Species Act. Threats to bears. Poaching. Poachers target bears for their gallbladders, paws, and other body parts. Habitat loss. Bears lose their habitats to human development and climate change, including deforestation, which leads to loss of food. Human conflict. Bears are killed when they raid crops, prey on livestock, or live too close to humans. Natural disasters. Difficulty having babies. Genetic isolation. Let's just take one bear, the polar bear, and say it went extinct. What would happen? It would significantly disrupt the Arctic ecosystem, likely leading to an increase in seal population, impacting the food web by affecting fish and crustacean populations, and potentially causing cascading effects on other Arctic species like Arctic foxes and walruses, as polar bears act as a key predator in their habitat. Additionally, the absence would represent a major loss of biodiversity and a stark indicator of the severe impacts of climate change. Is there the danger that the polar bear could go extinct relatively soon? Absolutely. Baird's tapirs. I don't see any in their enclosure right now, and it looks like one of the people that work here are looking around in their enclosure too. So let's look at the sign in front of their enclosure. Baird's tapirs, found in Central and South America and Mexico, are endangered due to habitat loss, poaching, and a slow reproductive rate. Logging, farming, cattle ranching, and road expansion have destroyed large areas of forest that tapirs need for food and shelter. Rising temperatures and droughts may reduce the amount of water available for tapirs. Tapirs are hunted for bushmeat and traffic. Local communities retaliated against tapirs that raid their crops. How many Baird's tapirs are left? Estimates suggest there are around 4,500 remaining Baird's tapirs. Their distribution has been reduced by as much as 50% in the last 30 years. The Baird's tapir is the largest terrestrial mammal in Central and South America, and also one of the most ecologically important species across the forested landscapes it inhabits. Known as farmers of the forest, the Baird's tapirs play a vital role in ecosystem biodiversity. They act as seed dispersers while browsing for leaves, fruits, and twigs throughout their forested habitat. This promotes crucial forest regeneration and helps mitigate climate change. Waterfowl and climate change, including ducks, geese, and swans. While most flamingos aren't endangered, the Andean flamingo is listed as vulnerable, and the Chilean lesser and James flamingos are listed as near threatened by the Red List of Threatened Species. However, a lot of our regular waterfowl are endangered. Some of their biggest threats include habitat loss and severe droughts due to climate change. Climate change poses significant challenges to waterfowl habitats. Changing migration patterns, habitat loss, altered food availability, all these factors impact waterfowl populations around the world. Long ago, Teddy Roosevelt initiated a system of national wildlife refuges to protect important wetland habitat for waterfowl and other birds. I just toured a recently built wildlife refuge around Melbourne, Florida. But the wetlands are still disappearing too fast, and the waterfowl populations are going down fast. Unless we can slow ongoing wetland losses, we simply won't be able to restore wetlands fast enough to make up the difference, and waterfowl will suffer the consequences. Recently, The Supreme Court withdrew the long-standing Clean Water Act protections for many wetlands, resulting in great losses of these habitats. At the same time, Congress has scaled back funding for programs such as the Wetlands Reserve Program and North American Wetland Conservation Act, reducing efforts to restore wetlands. More cuts could be coming. This is causing big trouble for our waterfowl. Since other species are facing similar issues, it makes sense that our waterfowl and birds are in trouble too. Kind of makes me wonder, what issues are humans getting ready to face that the government hasn't told us about?
Bees. I only found one bee at the zoo and it disappeared on me. So let's go to YouTube to see some bees. Are bees endangered? We all know bees have been dying off for a while. Reasons: colony collapse disorder, which causes bees to abandon their hive, parasites and disease, genetics, poor nutrition, pesticide exposure, unsustainable farming practices, habitat loss, invasive species threaten native bees, air pollution, climate change, etc. The first bee to be listed as endangered in the United States was the rusty-patched bumblebee in 2017. Then there's the western bumblebee, the southern plains bumblebee, and the American bumblebee population has plummeted by 90% since the year 2000. Yet in 2024 it still doesn't have endangered status, and it should. Bees are just one insect, but without bees, many foods would become scarce or disappear, including apples, berries, avocados, almonds, and coffee. The price of food would become more expensive and difficult to find. Without bees, thousands of plant species would die off, which would alter food webs and habitats. Animals that eat plants pollinated by bees would lose their food source. The loss of bees would have a devastating effect on human health. The loss of bees would lead to a decline in livestock, which would impact milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, and ice cream production. Any loss of bees could have a devastating impact on the world. The previous photo was taken at FPL's Manatee Lagoon in Riviera Beach, Florida. If you want to see manatees, just go there. It is free. But if it's hot, like when I was there, it was 86 to 87 degrees, they won't be there. Manatees only come to Manatee Lagoon when it is cold outside to warm up in the power plant's warm discharge. So let's go to YouTube to see some manatees. As of 2024, the global population of manatees is estimated to be at least 13,000. The majority of these manatees live in Florida. Other countries with known populations include Puerto Rico, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and Costa Rica. Good news! In 2017, the Florida manatee was reclassified from endangered to threatened under the Federal Endangered Species Act. The manatee population in Florida has grown to a minimum of 8,350 animals, which is higher than has ever been known to be. Why? This is another success story because conservation groups and corporations like FPL have been helping them. What threats do manatees face? Boat and barge collisions, loss of habitat, pollution, ingestion of fish hooks and lines, cold snaps, algae blooms. Manatees are considered keystone species in Florida, and their behavior can alert researchers to environmental changes. If manatees were to go extinct, the health of the Florida marine ecosystem would be significantly impacted. Manatees are a vital part of the food chain, and their habitats provide shelter and food for many other species. My neighbor recently told me that we have plenty of local sharks and few of them are threatened, and he was correct. However, the hammerhead and great white are local sharks, and they are critically endangered and threatened in that order. So let's go to YouTube to see sharks. Sharks and their relatives, the skates, ray, and chimeras, have roamed the ocean for millennia. The evolutionary history of sharks stretches back for a staggering 440 million years, predating the dinosaurs by about 20 million years, and our own species by a great deal longer. Yet in the present day, we are seeing an unprecedented decline in shark populations. In just the past 50 years, a minuscule fraction of their immense existence, the global abundance of oceanic sharks and rays has plummeted by 71.1%.
The number of sharks classified as endangered on the red list of threatened species is climbing every year, and the fact is sharks are heading towards extinction fast. How many sharks are endangered? Of the 11,199 species assessed, 121 are classified as endangered, 90 is critically endangered, and 180 is vulnerable. Looking at sharks specifically, 31.2% of all shark species assessed are threatened with extinction. Why are sharks endangered? So why is it that so many sharks are now threatened with extinction after having been successful for so very long? The simple answer is us. The biggest threat to sharks is overfishing. Sharks are generally slow to reach sexual maturity, reproduce less often, and tend to have relatively small numbers of young. This means that their populations can be driven down relatively easily if fisheries are not managed properly and operate unsustainably, which unfortunately happens in many instances. Shark fisheries exist around the globe. Many species are caught for their meat, liver oil, fins, and skin. As technology has advanced, fisheries have become bigger and more efficient, allowing for more sharks to be caught with less effort. This is unsustainable. The international fin trade has also helped drive overfishing. Fins are one of the most valuable shark products on the market. Very recent science has shown that 9 out of 10 of the most common sharks found in the dried fin trade in Hong Kong are listed as threatened species. Even when sharks are not directly targeted by fisheries, they can be caught on the industrial long lines. They can be miles long and have up to 2,500 hooks. Sharks like bait too. Aside from fishing pressure, sharks are threatened by habitat degradation, persecution as a result of fear and negative interactions with humans, harmful marine pollutants, microplastics, agriculture runoff, fishing debris, and man-made chemicals, and the effect of climate change. If sharks were to go extinct, what would happen? If sharks went extinct, the ocean ecosystem would collapse due to a domino effect. Without sharks as apex predators, the entire ocean ecosystem could fall out of balance. Sharks not only maintain the species below them in the food chain, but also indirectly maintain seagrass and coral reef habitats. So now you know the real story about sharks. Hi, I'm back to talk with you in person again. I hope you enjoyed the videos. Note, in the shark video, I misspoke and said 20 million instead of 200 million. In the shark video, it will make a lot more sense with 200 million in there. Okay, let's talk about extinction. How many times has life been wiped out on Earth? Earth has experienced 5 mass extinctions in the last 500 million years. Some scientists believe we are currently in the midst of a 6th mass extinction. What are some of the human-caused things that make scientists believe we are currently in the midst of a 6th mass extinction? Some of the top few are habitat loss. Our huge growth is changing everything. Pollution, overharvesting, poaching, and the introduction of non-native species, etc. How many species will be extinct by 2050? Scientists believe by 2050, if the current greenhouse gas emissions continue, from 1/3 to 1/2 of all species will possibly go extinct by 2050. This could result in the loss of up to 70% of the Earth's plants and animal species by the end of this century. Some people believe the scientists don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they don't, but what if they do? Should we just stick our heads in the sand? What animals will be extinct by 2031? That's just 6 years from now. Lions, tigers, and other big cats are some animals in the wild that may be extinct by 2031. We're eating up their habitat really quick. When will the human species be extinct? Well, this answer isn't known yet. However, some people believe there will be a civilization collapse in the 21st century, caused by one or a combination of climate change, ecological collapse, AI, nuclear war, deforestation, or resource problems. Now, I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just simply sharing what I found out. Okay, what have conservation groups done to save wildlife? They've done a lot of things. They have worked to connect the habitats of endangered species like tigers. They have worked to protect freshwater ecosystems that provide habitats for many species. They've worked to stop poachers by training law enforcement, setting up hotlines, and tracking animals with transmitters. They have worked to reduce the illegal trade of ivory, endangered species, and overused trees and fisheries. They helped bring about a global moratorium on commercial whaling. They have helped improve controls for trade in threatened species. They have helped bring back several species from the brink of extinction, including tigers, rhinos, gorillas, pandas, and elephants, and much more. Conservation works to save at-risk wildlife from around the globe. There is a law on America's books called the Endangered Species Act of 1973. It was designed to protect critically imperiled species from extinction as a consequence of economic growth and development untempered by adequate concern and conservation. For the past 50 plus years, this law has been active and conservation groups have been working in many, many countries, largely paid for by the United States. The above law has recently been greatly weakened. Is it wise for our government to withdraw support from conservation programs when wildlife is in such dire need? If we, the richest country in the world, do not support conservation, the poor countries likely won't either. We're coming out of an ice age and we're naturally warming. However, human activity is accelerating the rate of warming. Perhaps we are past the point where any of this conservation programs will make any difference. Trimming conservation from the budget may not work because ecosystems don't recognize borders. What happens to the whole world will happen to all of us, no matter how separate we are. As humans, we will find out what weak conservation programs will do to our world and our people. I am personally so glad that I am alive right now so I can witness what will happen. I believe that very important events worldwide will happen in my lifetime, and I also believe that a lot of it is going to be about our wildlife. This brings my World Wildlife Day podcast number 10 to a close. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. I hope you'll join me for my podcast 11, which will be about celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Remember to subscribe so you receive my music and podcasts as they come out. I appreciate every single one of you for watching and for continuing to watch. Star signing off. Everyone have a fun and take care.